Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome everyone. We're digging into some interesting source material today about getting, well, serious gaming power without maybe breaking the bank entirely.
Exactly. We've got some excerpts here focusing on a specific new graphics card, the AMD Radeon RX 9060 XT, and also how it slots into some GameStar PC builds.
Right. So our mission today really is to unpack what these sources are saying about hitting that sweet spot. You know, strong gaming performance, but also good value. We'll look at the specs, the tech, the whole picture.
And what jumps out right off the bat is how the source material talks about this RX 9060 XT. They're really positioning it as a contender for, like, the Price Performance King title.
Price Performance King, okay.
Yeah, specifically for WQHD gaming. That's 1440p.
That's a pretty big claim for WQHD, so what makes them think that? What are the sources pointing to?
Well, they go straight for the specs. The main version, the one they focus on most, packs 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM.
16 gigs.
And the sources are quite explicit, calling that very future-proof. That seems key to their WQHD argument and, you know, its longevity.
Yeah, that makes sense. We keep seeing games demanding more VRAM, especially if you crank up textures or resolution. So 16 gigs, that feels like it addresses that concern head on.
Yeah.
Might save you an upgrade down the line.
Precisely. They also touch on improved ray tracing performance compared to, you know, older AMD cards. It's still demanding tech, obviously, but the sources suggest AMD's made some real strides there.
Okay, so it's not just raw power and memory. The sources also seem to put a lot of stock in the supporting tech, right? Things that boost performance.
Oh, absolutely. FSR4 is mentioned prominently. That's AMD's AI upscaling. And the material specifically calls out that it uses the card's tensor cores.
Tensor cores. Now, why is that detail important for FSR4, according to the sources?
Well, the implication is that having dedicated hardware, these tensor cores, makes those AI calculations for upscaling much, much more efficient than trying to run them on general-purpose GPU cards.
Okay. More efficient.
So FSR4 could, theoretically, give you a bigger boost in performance, maybe even better image quality compared to older methods. It makes that tech a bigger part of the card's value, at least how the sources frame it.
Gotcha. Okay, so we have the card, the tech, like FSR4. How do the sources show this playing out in actual PCs you might buy?
Right. That brings us to the GameStar PC configurations they detail. The first one is the GameStar PC Alpha Pro Max. The sources position this one clearly as a WQHD gaming deal, targeting around the 1,000 euro.
1,000 euros for a WQHD machine with this new card. What's under the hood, according to the sources?
It's got an AMD Ryzen 7 8700F CPU that's 8 cores, boosting up to 5.0 gigahertz paired with that Radeon RX 9060 XT, the 16 megabyte version.
Hey, strong pairing.
Plus, they list 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM and, importantly, a 1 terabyte PCIe 4.0 SSD.
The PCIe 4.0 SSD, and mentioning that suggests they're thinking about the whole system experience, like faster load times, not just frame rates. But you mentioned something else, Sam.
Yes, Smart Access Memory. The sources make a point of highlighting this. Basically, it lets the AMD CPU access all of the GPU's memory directly instead of just a small chunk.
And the benefit is?
The sources claim it can boost performance by up to 16% in some games. It's all about reducing bottlenecks, letting the CPU and GPU talk more efficiently.
Whoa, hold on. Up to 16% just from that feature. That's a pretty substantial claim the sources are making for Sam.
It definitely suggests they see a real advantage in sticking with an all-AMD platform, pairing that Ryzen CPU with the Radeon GPU. It's part of the value proposition here.
Interesting. But there was another PC mentioned, right? Something a bit more budget-friendly.
Correct, yeah. The GameStar PC Alpha Pro. This one's aimed more towards Full HD, so 1080p gaming, at a lower price point.
And the difference is mainly the CPU and GPU variant.
Exactly. It uses an AMD Ryzen 5 8400F that's a 6-core CPU, still boosts nicely up to 4.7 gigahertz, and crucially, it uses the 8 gigabyte version of the RX 9060 XT.
Ah, the AGB version.
Yeah. But it keeps the same 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM and the 1 terabyte PCIe 4.0 SSD as the Pro Max, according to the sources.
So the sources are basically saying, look, for full HD, 8 gigs of VRAM on this card is perfectly fine, more cost-effective, and, hey, uses lane power too.
That's the gist. And importantly, the material points out that even this more budget-oriented system still gets the benefits of FSR4 upscaling and that Smart Access Memory tech.
Okay, so it really sounds like if you're thinking about a new gaming PC, especially if value is high in your list for a specific resolution, these sources lay out two pretty clear options. You've got the 16 GB RX 9060 XT build, like the Alpha Pro Max, pushed as a strong WQHD value.
And then you've got the 8 GB version in a system like the Alpha Pro, framed as a really capable entry for full HD gaming, but still leveraging modern tech like FSR4 and SAM to punch above its weight. The sources really use that VRAM amount, 16 GB versus 8 GB, as the main signpost for which resolution you should be targeting and, implicitly, its future relevance.
So wrapping up, the source material definitely paints a picture of AMD's RX 9060 XT line, especially when combined with platform tech like SAM and FSR4, offering some really compelling value options whether you're aiming for WQHD or Full HD.
It really seems focused on that balance between cost, current performance, and trying to give you some runway for the future.
Which leads to a final thought for you, the listener. Considering everything discussed here, from the sources, the cost, the performance targets, the future-proofing aspect with VRAM, the boost from tech like FSR and SAM if you are building or buying a new gaming PC today, based on this info, what single component or feature would you prioritize most and why? Something to chew on.